Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a throwaway account in the Relationship Advice subreddit. The post is titled, "I overheard my sister confess her love for my fiance. How do I confront her?" Using a throwaway account since I don't want to attach this to my main account as some friends follow it too. Anyway, I'll get into it. My friends recently hosted a small party or get-together for my sister because she had been gone for a while in Florida with her boyfriend but was coming back up north after they broke up. The gathering included a few of our mutual friends, some of her old high school buddies, and some cousins. My fiance and I arrived a bit late, but we were excited to join the celebration. I was mostly happy to see my sister again since she had been pretty distant and rarely texted or called. Nothing significant happened at first, just some shots being poured and food being ordered until it got late and people started getting really drunk. Since wedding planning has been exhausting, my fiance and I decided to leave early. To sum up a quick moment, I was walking to the bathroom and past the bedroom where I heard my sister crying in someone's arms. Originally, I was going to check on her or comfort her, but then I heard my fiance's name and paused. I definitely think I was wrong for listening in, but I was curious and a bit drunk myself. From what I gathered, she was sobbing about how seeing my fiance made it all real again, and that she didn't want to deny her feelings anymore, especially now that he's getting married to me. What really stood out to me was when she said that she just wanted him to notice her too. I left pretty quickly after that and haven't told anyone about what I heard. Maybe I never noticed the signs, but she has always been so polite and friendly with my fiance. She knew him before anyone else since we were high school sweethearts, and I came out to her first when I was struggling with my identity. It's just such a strange thing to hear this from her, but part of me wants to blame it on drunk brain. She's never said anything like this before. In fact, she greeted him warmly when we arrived at the party. They even connected over a mutual interest for a while, and she was so warm toward me too. I want to confront her to see if she meant what she said, but I'm terrified of the potential consequences. My family has always stayed drama-free, and I'd hate to ruin everything now that my sister has just returned after being away. I really need advice on how to proceed and how to ask her about this without causing a scene. The party was a week ago, and I feel sick every time she messages me or calls, whether it's about wedding plans or just general chatting, so I know that I need to do something. Has anyone been in a situation like this before? Knitting Fairy said, "Talk to your fiance first. See if he has any idea that she felt this way or if she has ever made odd comments that align with this information." Hamsta Elderberry said, "You are no longer drama-free. Conflict avoidance has never once solved any problem effectively. Your fiancé deserves the right to know so he can make his own decisions about how he chooses to interact with your sister rather than you making the choice for him because you're afraid of drama. I can't tell you where this will lead, but this issue won't resolve itself by staying stagnant and pretending it never happened. By no means am I suggesting you need to have a massive, ugly blowout with your sister. However, you do need to inform both her and your fiancé that you are aware of what she said and what this means for the foreseeable future. Stress from wedding planning and drunken confessions are hardly reasonable excuses. Nip this in the bud before resentment begins festering, if it hasn't already." Acidic Atheist Potato said, "Avoiding her won't help you in any way. It doesn't have to be dramatic. At least you can control that on your end, and it doesn't need to be a confrontation. Simply invite her for coffee. Being in a neutral place will help it feel less like an attack. Tell her what you heard and be honest and open about it. Explain that you heard it by mistake, not that you were purposefully eavesdropping and that you left when you realized it was a private conversation. However, you did hear her say exactly that. Don't dance around it so it doesn't imply that her feelings are something shameful. Tell her you're worried about her and about how this might affect your family's dynamic. Explain that you need to know how deep her feelings go and if she needs boundaries in place to be okay with you building your life with your partner. This doesn't mean she gets to dictate whether you can bring him to family reunions or show affection to him in front of her. Instead, she needs to work out her own feelings if she has an issue. You might ask her if she would prefer it if you told her when you'll attend events together so she can choose to skip them if needed, or if she would rather not hear about your accomplishments as a couple. She shouldn't be shamed for having feelings as long as she can control her behavior. If you think about it, there's a reason why you fell for your fiancé, and you're probably not the only one who can see what you saw that made you fall for him. Your sister has been supportive of you and him, so I wouldn't jump to conclusions. Give her a chance to explain and go from there. This isn't a lost cause. Good luck. Update. Hi again, everyone. I first want to thank all the people who responded. I really didn't expect to receive so much advice. I probably would have still been panicking and bottling this up if you hadn't helped out. Unfortunately, it still went badly, but I'm glad I listened to your advice throughout this process. Also, to clarify a few things that I saw people get confused about in the comments. My fiance is gay and I never doubted his loyalty, which is why I barely mentioned him in the original post. I was mostly concerned about my sister since we had wanted her in the wedding party, and it was especially scary to hear that she was crushing on my fiance. Along with that, I know a lot of you said to just leave it be, but for the reasons mentioned above, along with my personal beliefs, I really didn't want to let it simmer. Anyway, I ended up talking with my fiance the day after I made the post, once he got home from work and we were settled. I sort of word vomited at him, but I tried to remember the advice I had received. He was equally disturbed, probably a bit more since he has dealt with a similar situation at work once. We both definitely wanted to talk to her and just clear the air, and we ended up making a little plan to meet her in a park. Originally, it was only going to be me, but my fiance wanted to stay nearby in the car. So yesterday I texted her and we met. Honestly, I'm still recovering from everything she said to me, so I won't repeat much of it here. The basic gist is that once we chatted for a bit, I brought it up gently that I had heard her at the reunion party and wanted to communicate with her about the things she said. One thing I didn't feel the need to mention in the original post was that I am also a transgender man. It didn't seem relevant to the issue, or at least I thought it didn't. However, once I asked my sister, she started on a whole tirade with a lot of right-wing talking points, mostly saying that she didn't understand why my fiance was settling for a confused girl rather than someone like her, and admitting that yes, she has feelings for him because she thinks he deserves better than me. I didn't say much to her, but once I realized what was going on, I just said that I was done and left. I really don't know how she's changed so much since the girl I grew up with. She used to be super supportive, which she even acknowledged and said she was just as lost as I am. After that, I was just a mess, so I apologize for not updating sooner. My sister is living with my parents while she works to get a job in the new area, and she's also started telling them about the conversation. Both of my parents don't want to get involved, which I understand. I tried texting her to tell her to stop bothering them, but she blocked me, so I guess that's that. My fiance wants to cut her from the wedding altogether, and I'm just leaning on him as a pillar right now. I wish this was a happier update, and I still really don't know what to do. Still, thank you all for the advice you gave, and if you have any advice on how to deal with this new issue, I'd appreciate it. Is there a way to get through to her? This second post was made in the relationship subreddit by a user named BF Drowning. The post is titled, "My fiance is drowning in overdue child support. I'm thinking of leaving him." Okay, so first, I want to say that I love my fiance. He's a great guy, whip smart, kind, and funny. A year and a half ago, I would never have imagined I'd be at this point. We've been dating for 5 years ever since we met. He works at a call center and I'm a postal worker. We make a moderate income and the wedding is tentatively planned for April. I apologize in advance for the legal jargon. He hasn't really kept me in the loop and I'm a mail carrier, not a lawyer. I don't have a head for this. 1 year into our relationship, he received a notice for paternity from the state he used to live in regarding a 3-year-old boy. Clearly, this happened long before I met him. He thought it was ridiculous, but he took the ordered DNA test. It turned out that he is indeed the father. The mother was apparently mentally unwell, and it turned out the boy was in the custody of the grandparents. They offered to adopt the boy if my fiance gave up all his paternal rights. He jumped at the offer. They pulled some strings. I was personally ambivalent about the situation. It seemed like he just gave up all rights to his son without a care. However, in the end, it's his business, not mine. I told myself I would be a supportive stepmother if the boy ever came to him for help or answers when he was older. There was some messy legal business about arrears in child support because the mother apparently was on welfare for years, and the state wants repayment from my fiance. I don't know much about it because he refuses to share. All I know is that it's around $20K for 3 years. A couple of years went by and I took my fiance to the DMV to renew his license because it was way past expired and he wouldn't do it. Lo and behold, it was suspended. Why? There was a past due child support judgment for another child, a 12-year-old girl. The amount was $30K. My fiance was literally sick. Worse, in order to get his license suspended, he had to contact the child support department in his old state and give them all his current contact information, where he works, where he lives. Soon enough, a notice came through HR. He was going to be garnished 25% of his after-tax pay because of the child support judgment. After that, he just shut down, stonewalling any conversation regarding the issue at all. I took on more of the bills, but now we're both struggling. We had to move into a smaller, crappier apartment using my credit alone because his credit has a big fat judgment on it. He had to refinance his almost paid off car because he couldn't afford the high payments. There's some kind of hearing coming up. I don't know what it's about because he flatly refuses to tell me. I think maybe it's to adjust the payments based on his current income. Either way, he hasn't bought plane tickets, or rather hasn't asked me for the money because he can't afford them. I think he's not going, and it'll be an automatic judgment against him. Here's the thing, he could request a DNA test for the girl, but he hasn't, though he's told me he's certain he's not the father. He could hire an attorney. I've offered to front the cost, but he has 1,000 excuses. He'd have to get one in his other state. They'd gouge him because he wasn't there, he doesn't have the time, excuse after excuse. The hearing is in 3 weeks. I don't know what's going on, and he's so passive about it that I'm worried. So I opened up an official looking notice he received a few months back, but never bothered to open. There's a third child. This one is a brother of the girl. Maybe the hearing is actually about him. God damn it, I just don't know. He has actually left the house for a long walk when I questioned him a few weeks back. I am not a nagging person. Asking him to deal with his issues is uncomfortable for me too. If I have to confront him with an ultimatum, we've reached the point of no return. But I'm almost there. So here's the deal. I love my fiance. He's 50 grand in debt that will haunt him for the foreseeable future. He won't do anything about it, just sticks his head in the sand and hopes it goes away. Maybe he's depressed. He acts normal as if none of this is happening. There might be more on the way with the third child. If I stay with him, I'll never be able to buy a house. I will have to make all major purchases on my credit alone. We can never combine our income. He has abandoned 3 children. I don't know the full stories of the relationships between him and the mothers, other than that they were painful and full of lies. One is his biological child for sure. The other 2 are a question, but they may as well be in the eyes of the state. He doesn't care about them other than the bi-weekly garnishment on his paycheck. As far as I understand, he's never asked about them once. I had a pregnancy scare last month. Well, actually, I found out I had been pregnant via miscarriage. I didn't tell him, it's done. But the first thought in my head after I realized what happened was that my child would have been 4th in line for any support if things went south. Who says he wouldn't abandon me too? We do plan on having children eventually. My heart loves this guy. My head says I'll be throwing away my financial future if I stick with him. What do you think? Update. Unfortunately, someone linked up my previous post from another subreddit, so the post was locked and deleted. The basic gist was that my fiance had stuck his head in the sand and was ignoring child support notices and hearings to the tune of 50 grand for children conceived long before our relationship started. After the second surprise child, he had completely shut me out on the subject. I opened some of his forgotten mail and saw there was a notice for a third child. To recap, baby 1, a 3-year-old boy. He was able to give up his paternal rights in favor of the mother's grandparents because the mother had mental health issues. $20K in child support arrears. Baby 2, a 12-year-old girl, $30K in ongoing child support. I don't know the story behind this one and he isn't talking. Baby 3, brother of the 12-year-old girl. The birth date was on the paperwork, but he took that letter with him. Thank you for all the comments, private messages, and valuable feedback from my other post. The ones that told me I too was sticking my head in the sand really put things into perspective for me, as did the ones who provided professional insight that it was simply not possible for him to have been completely blindsided by all 3 children. So I was in a mood when he got home tonight. I showed my fiance the letter I opened about the third child. Luckily, he didn't get all huffy about me opening his mail because I was not in the mood. Johnny's face just fell and he said it was impossible for him to be the father of the third child. He claimed that the mother of the 12-year-old had won a child support judgment against him for the girl and was now clearly looking for more. I told him I thought that was nonsense and I wanted the truth now, that I'd been looking through his old state's laws and the courts couldn't have ruled him the father of the 12-year-old without evidence. He pulled his usual Stonewall routine, saying it didn't matter because there was a judgment against him and he was screwed for life. He actually started to cry. I kept pressing him. Finally, he told me the truth. He and the baby's mother had been in love since they were teenagers, but it was an on and off relationship. She was dramatic. She got pregnant and he was there for her, but right before the baby was born, she told him he wasn't the father. He was stubborn and proud and still signed the birth certificate, but he left her soon after at her request and didn't have any contact. Why didn't he get a DNA test? It was expensive and his heart was broken. By the end of this, he was crying. I started crying too, and I told him I can't marry him right now with all this going on. Oh my God, did he instantly go from sorrowful to pissed. He kept asking me how I could do this, that I knew about the child support going into this, that he'd always been honest with me. He claimed that he knew the baby's mother was trying yet again to ruin his life, that the judgment was already in, and there was nothing he could do because the courts always rule in favor of the mother. He said there was no point in trying, that this was all her fault for trying to ruin his life, and by taking her side over him, I was letting her. I'd like to say I threw in some good zingers. The fact is, when things get heated, my brain stalls out. I said some things about how he was handling the situation, keeping me locked out of what was going on with the upcoming hearing, and that if he kept blowing this off, he could go to jail, but my delivery sounded kind of lame even to me. It's never like how I practice in my head or can type out here, you know? Then he started asking me if this was about a male coworker I had once given a ride home, like 3 months ago, if I had an affair with him. What the heck? No. I took off the ring and told him to take it. I said he needed to move out tonight, stay with someone else, and give me some space. The wedding was off and I needed a few days to consider the rest of the relationship. He kept asking me why, like he couldn't believe I was breaking off the wedding over a little old thing, like $50K in debt, 3 surprise children, and a complete shutdown of the subject. Then he called me shallow, claiming money means more to me than love. It went on, but I'm already sick of reliving this. He packed a duffel full of clothes and left, having convinced himself that I was either cheating on him or shallow and money hungry. So I spent the evening rereading comments and browsing rental sites. The lease is in my name only because of the judgments on his credit report. He probably has some sort of tenant rights anyway. Meh, at least he's out of the apartment for now. I texted him a long message an hour ago. Johnny, before we join our lives together, I need to know you can handle your responsibilities like an adult. Go to the hearing. I will help you with a lawyer, with a plane ticket, whatever. If you treat me like a partner, maybe we can rebuild our relationship. I love you. He hasn't answered. I hope he listens to reason once he cools down. He has so many good qualities. I had to share the very worst in my post to you all. He would be an excellent father if he wanted visitation, and I am willing to put in the work to sort this out and move forward with these kids if he is. He's convinced himself he's screwed for life, and I think it's paralyzed him. It's a terrifying place to be. I know basically everyone wanted me to kick him to the curb, but I'm hoping this break is enough of a come to Jesus moment for him to prove he's not a deadbeat. If he wants to fight for this relationship, he has to go to the hearing and handle his business, get on a payment plan and stick to it. Then relationship counseling. Lots and lots of relationship counseling. Then we'll see. I still may break up permanently, but at least he'll have sorted out a thing or two. Maybe I'm just holding on to hope. So that's it. I really wish I had thought of something awesome to say during the argument, but life isn't a movie. The ball's in his court. Let's see if he steps up or not. Has anyone been through anything like this before? I did blindside him a little because I too had been way too passive in letting this slide. How do I help him help himself? Update. He hasn't answered the text with the offer to help. I've called the landlord and requested a new lock for the door. He's not on the lease and it's probably not legal, but as someone pointed out, he's adverse to going to court. Responses have been passionate. I don't think I was clear. We're essentially done. I returned his grandmother's ring and told him to give me space. If he accepts help and steps up to his obligations to his children with no backsliding, only then will I consider taking him back, not for immediate marriage. But considering it's morning and he still hasn't answered the text, it probably doesn't matter. Update 2. I don't even know where to start. After I called off the wedding and returned his grandmother's engagement ring, he packed a duffel full of his clothes and left. It's been about a month and I haven't heard a peep from him. I changed the locks on the apartment, but he hasn't been back for his stuff anyway. He blocked me on Facebook, and when I gave in and tried to give him a call a week later, he'd changed his phone number too. I heard he was staying at his best friend's house, courtesy of his friend's girlfriend. Trust me, I went through all the stages of grief. Denial, anger, acceptance, etc. And I finally accepted he wasn't coming back. I thought maybe he'd gone back to his home state to be with one of the mothers of his children, but his car was parked in the parking lot at his work. The hearing was scheduled for early this week. Finally, tonight I plucked up my courage and went to his best friend's house to confront him. The least he could do is get his stuff out of my apartment, right? I grabbed up his many unopened child support notices and a picture of the first boy he left on his dresser. It's the only picture of the 3 kids that he has, and he left it behind. His best friend answered the door, and what followed was just about the most awkward conversation ever. I can't remember the conversation verbatim, but I asked where my ex-fiance was, and his friend said he wasn't there. He was being evasive, so I asked if he went to the hearing or not. His friend looked confused. What hearing? I told him about the child support hearing for his 3 kids. His friend looked super confused, like I was crazy. Then he asked if I was seeing anyone else other than my ex-fiance. Of course I wasn't. I gave his friend a very abbreviated version. I was getting loud because I'd been bottling this up, and his friend's girlfriend came out to see what was going on. She's the one who told me, her exact words, "Your man lost his damn mind." The weekend after I kicked him out, he went out to a bar with his friend for some good old-fashioned girl bashing. He met up with a 22-year-old bartender and hooked up. He married her last weekend. They drove up to Reno and did the whole Chapel of Love thing. His friend and his girlfriend were the witnesses. They hadn't really supported his decision, but he had them convinced I was a cheating whore, and he was so heartbroken. Plus, his friend's girlfriend implied later that he'd overstayed his welcome by crashing at their house for most of a month. I was shocked and pissed and wanted to cry because I sort of got the vibe that his friend still didn't believe I wasn't cheating. So I grabbed the court documents from my car and gave them to him to pass along to my ex. I doubt they'll open them up, but the fact that they're from his old state county's child support division should be good evidence. I don't know why I should care about their opinion. Neither one of them called me during this. I thought I was their friend too, but they believed him. Now I'm back home, surrounded by his stuff and trying to sort out my feelings. I feel like I've just watched someone blow through all the bridges out warning signs and drive off a cliff. I told my ex I'd help him get a lawyer for the hearing, help him with the plane ticket. Instead of taking care of his business, he went and married some woman he'd known for like 2.5 weeks at most. I should feel bad for the girl for what she's just gotten into, but she must either be a real piece of work herself or just an idiot. Who marries someone they've known for that short a time? And I know someone out there is thinking, you're an idiot. He had to have known her for longer. He was cheating before this. Well, I'm certain he wasn't. He's a homebody by nature. There was never any missing time in our relationship, and his friend was pretty clear they'd met at the bar that night. So basically, instead of going to his child support hearing, he was moving in with his new wife and probably doing what newly married people do. I hope they're happy together. I guess my next stop is the legal advice subreddit to figure out what to do with his stuff. He might have a contempt of court warrant out for him for skipping the hearing, so I doubt he'll sue me if I toss it all, but I do want to cover my butt. I know I need to ask a question, so here it is. What in the world was he thinking? Out of all the options he had, he picked the very worst. What was she thinking? I love the man, but even I can admit he's not classically good looking. He had nothing to offer but a low-paying job and being practically homeless. And finally, what is wrong with me that I feel terrible he's found some new way to mess up his life? The Blue Ninja said almost 10 years later, at least 2 of those kids are legal adults now. I wonder if they would even recognize their own father. Also, I bet he left that bartender with at least 1 more abandoned child and no child support. Top Impidove said, honestly, if he married some random bartender within a month, I am not at all surprised that he has 3 random kids he didn't tell OP about. Imagine what else he's kept from her. She partially dodged a bullet. Edit, I say partially because she only left him after experiencing his nonsense for a bit. Not that I'm saying he's not a disaster, she didn't dodge him completely. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, GamerSupps. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.